Welcome to Re-Review, where we watch movies from our past with a perspective from today. Your hosts are Matt, Bobby, and Austin. We love the films from our youth, so we're taking a look back to see if they still hold up. On this episode, we're discussing The Faculty. It was released in 1998, directed by Robert Rodriguez. It stars Jordana Brewster, Clea Duvall, and Laura Harris. This is a movie about body snatching. Now, this is a fair warning, we're spoiling a 27-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it, we will be revealing key plot points. I think we opened up this as Dimension Films, given all those Scream vibes. I think, as things get set up, and more importantly, like the films of this era, they were vehicles for soundtracks, right? So we opened with some Offspring, I think is how the movie opened. And
Yep.
and then tried to hit,
right, or what is it?
Yeah, and tried to hit all those nostalgia moments of when punk, pop, pre-pop punk, I don't even know what genre to describe it. Post-punk, pre-pop punk era, late 90s punk thing was everything that everyone wanted to listen to, and it was all over MTV. And then we just kind of move into what we eventually realize is, I guess we're going to call this a star-studded cast. Is that fair? Josh Hartnett, Selma Hayek, Famke Janssen, Usher, Jon Stewart, Elijah Wood. Goddamn, Frodo was in this friggin' movie. Who didn't they sign on to this movie?
It's funny because as we were going through, I think I had like audibly blurted out as like her too, him too, like they.
Robert Patrick?
Yeah. There was just
McDonald.
it kind of feels like most of their budget probably went to that, to be honest.
Was it that, or did these people all owe someone a favor?
Oh, 100%. It's like what's that? The 7 Things to Kevin Bacon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we connect Robert Rodriguez and all these actors that got them into this movie? Like I was almost disappointed because I kind of was expecting random cameos, like Antonio Banderas or something like that, show up as like a janitor or something, or a cop, or like just to start the first like 10 minutes was just like face I recognized just nonstop. It was like, oh, there goes another one, there goes another one, there goes another one. So I kind of expected that to keep happening, and when it didn't, I was kind of sad a little bit. Like I was starting like this is pre-Spy Kids, right? So couldn't have had like Lautner or anything like that in here. He would have been a baby at this point.
I mean, I'm trying to think. We probably should put together some kind of graph or timeline. Mainly, Matt, I'm saying I need this to see, did we know who these people were before or after before this movie in any like big sense? What did Elijah do before this?
Besides Back to the Future 2?
That seems very specific in a 1998 to the 80s gap that my brain could not handle.
Well, because like he was in what was that one movie? Because he was in the movie with Macaulay Culkin, right? The Good Son?
Like a child actor that did a bunch of stuff previously.
He was a child.
The Good Son, yeah.
The Good Son, and then Lord of the Rings was what, 2001? So about three years after this.
He was in Forever Young.
You got me there. I don't think I saw that one.
So you would have been like, I know who Elijah Wood is in 1998 when you saw this.
No, absolutely not. I would have had
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Definitely knew who Usher was.
At that point? In 98?
Yeah, he was releasing music then. He's old.
He didn't look it in this. He looked like he was 10.
Yeah.
This is how I know that can't be true, because they put his last name in those credits. There ain't no way that he wouldn't have just been Usher if he was Usher. You don't put Prince's real name when he's Prince.
His self-titled debut, 1994, my dude.
No,
he was out there. I knew who Usher was. How's that? How's that? All right. but at least we had Selma Hayek, and we probably had high hopes that were not delivered. So I think we made comments around the exposition in this film, but we're really presented with the idea that these are the what is it, your tropey high school kids setup. What was the movie you referenced, Bobby, that they were copying?
The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
So they have like the smart nerd, the like detention angry guy, the sports guy,
the
You know, they covered all the different, you know, the popular girl, the outcast girl.
Well, like I feel like they double dipped on a couple of them because it was like Jordana's character was like it seemed like she was a cheerleader, but she was also the head of the newspaper or whatever.
Right.
Yes.
Like you're double dipping. You need to decide which direction you're going on this one, guys.
They were just future thinking, right?
Well, I mean, didn't they make a reference to it like later on when they were all like freaking out that they were like they was like the smart jock or whatever or the smart dropout character,
Yeah.
and then the cheerleader who was, you know, a journalist, and like they even at least called out the contradictions of all the different types in this.
So I guess that leads to a good question. I mean, you're pointing out the contradictions and tying it to the movies that came before. I think, Matt, your comments were what they were throughout most of the film. Is this a joke?
Oh, like a parody, or
are we taking it too serious and maybe need to dial back on the foot pedal of this was the epitome of what was supposed to be a body snatching film?
Well, I do wonder if it's so similar to some other it's kind of amalgamation of a couple other different movies. I do wonder if it's very intentional as it is a homage to the other movies, like obviously like The Thing and various body snatcher movies, and also like various high school type movies. It's kind of like, let's get all those and mush them together and see how that works.
But I think that was the weird part, because like visually I Know What You Did Last Summer, right? It has that dark tone, it has that visual look of it. And then the random camp is what it, like, I guess, is that just the Robert Rodriguez, like, you know, it's a contradiction of a movie where it's like it's supposed to be dark and serious, but it's got random zooms and terrible zinger music whenever something is supposed to be happening. Is that like that the thing he's trying to go for on this, that it was a walking contradiction of types? Or are we giving him too much credit on that?
No, if we give him that credit, how does that make you feel about the movie? Again, not from a recommendation point of view. We'll get to that later. But if we look at it from that angle,
it would be like a chocolate. All right. This movie, it's a chocolate covered habanero. Both those separately, fine. You put them together, I don't like. You're trying to make it sound like, you know, like I don't. And this is the hill I die on or whatever. But like a chocolate covered orange is nothing. I'm sorry. Like it is a nothing thing. And people can swear by it all they want, and they like, I'll live with chocolate sea salt. Like I'm fine with that. But trying to mix two things together, because like you could probably make a list of movies that tried to mix genres like that just did not work.
I want a chocolate covered habanero now. Yeah. Well, and I think part of, you mentioned the camp, and maybe this is the first eye opening piece of this was, I guess you talked about the budget, and maybe they spent it on everyone who was participating in this movie. We get Robert Patrick as Coach Willis, and I'm yelling Terminator. And we get that first scene where like we understand some things are going wrong here, and there's an attack happening. And then you get like the pencil through the hand. Was that to me like the first indication that maybe the special effects would be kind of a mix throughout the whole film?
I mean, I like the practical stuff, you know, the like all the like stabbing gags and the fingers getting chopped off.
Did you think it looked good? And maybe this is what you talked about, it being like The Thing a bit, because at some point we see like Jon Stewart's face with the bubbly eye, and
well, yeah, that was an effect right there.
Yeah. I mean, so
it was the puffy eye that threw me off. It was the eyelid that they had over the prosthetic that I was just like,
yeah,
you ran out of money, didn't you?
But then they also did like the CGI displacement of like the things crawling under skin and that kind of stuff, you know, like the mummy type thing.
And so you were in favor of that, Bobby?
I mean, I liked some of the practical stuff. I mean, I thought it was fun.
But like, if I look at, I mean, throughout this entire movie, I was comparing it to The Thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
Which sounds like a positive thing, right?
No. I was comparing it as the measure.
Right.
And that was the problem.
I really wouldn't be surprised if they're like, hey, let's make this like The Thing, especially with the head and the thing turning into creatures. I did like the Men in Black kind of situation where you've got this small woman and then they cut away and turns back and she's like this gigantic monster.
Mm-hmm.
The Men in Black made a joke about that, how Edgar turns into a super gigantic cockroach at the end. And
he does. Well, I guess it's the thing. So at some point, the movie's very self-referential where we have the conversation between, is it Stokely, and is Stokely talking to Casey at this point? No, who's Stokely talking to when we get the full breakdown about how this is Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Oh yeah, that was Casey, right?
Casey. Yeah.
So isn't this where we could say like that is the point, that it is an homage because they decided to be so self-referential and basically point out this is exactly what this movie is?
But at the same time, I think that it was, at least to me, it was kind of a detriment because then they use that for the basis as to why killing the queen will phantom menace all the rest of them. And that bugs me because there's not that many. Like, I was trying to think back to Body Snatchers in the first place. And I was just like, I don't know, that wasn't really a thing in that because obviously the way that it ends. And I was just trying to think if there really were any instances of that being a thing in the first place. Now, granted, the original books or whatever, the original stories, I can't remember what she referenced that was the original version that Body Snatchers was based off of. Because there was a French one and then it kind of.
Yeah, she mentioned like a Robert Heinlein book, a couple of different ones.
But this is where like I wonder if somewhere in an edit bay or during a table reading, somebody's like, this is just a knockoff of Body Snatchers. Well, if we call it out, they can't say, it's like, if we say, it's like in those movies where it was like, if we say it's bad, then they can't blame us for it being bad because we called it out ourselves. Like, that's just lazy.
Right. I mean, I guess to kind of defend the movie in some case, like high school kids references as movies.
But the Body Snatchers, I mean, I guess it was the emo kid.
Right, like even in the Avengers, like Spider-Man says, "Hey, remember aliens?" Like I see it as that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I feel like in that case though, that one was a bad example, like on their part, because I was like, who's ever said, "Oh, remember that old movie Aliens?"
Right.
Like even a kid wouldn't say something like that.
Well, do you want your movie worlds constantly, I guess, trying to bring you into reality like it's happening in the same space that you exist in?
This is the tough part because I'm over here shitting on them for doing that, but I hate in a zombie movie when they don't acknowledge that zombies exist in movies. Like to the point where they refuse, they're like, they're the walkers or they're the whatever. And it's like, the zombie movies didn't exist in this universe? Like, so I'm a hypocrite. I'm sorry.
So which is it? Which is it then? I guess it's I feel like I lean in the thing that you're complaining about with zombie movies where there's an element of it kind of being a first time essence. Maybe, this is the first time the body snatching has happened. So I would accept the world that they're presenting versus what you're pointing out is very true. Like they probably have a long history of media and all these universes. How have they never heard of zombies before or aliens who body snatch?
Yeah, because I think because then that starts tying into the whole, do I have a problem with the exposition in this movie too? Right. Where it's so in your face that it spotlight, it puts it in a spotlight. And I was like, I kind of wish they hadn't.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, I was subconsciously comparing it to The Thing and Body Snatchers. There's a manga an anime called Parasite that's very similar, like the idea of aliens coming in. It's like, it's an age-old tale, right? Like I'm sure you probably could go to the 1800s and there's probably stories similar to, the concept of that, of pod people and whatnot. So it's not like it wasn't in the back of my mind, but somehow them calling it out made me kind of go, ugh.
So can you tell me how in the anime, how they explain that there's a body snatching alien. I mean, you just see it happen and they don't have to talk about it and figure it out, right? They just fight it. They don't discuss it, or
In that case, it's a little bit different because the main character gets partially infected by an alien, so it only goes into his hand, and he's able to actually talk to it. So they, but that
so it's venom.
in a way, it kind of is because it becomes a weapon or whatever in that. But it does at least acknowledge something. I think that to me, and I think I said it not too far into this movie or whatever. I was like, this movie is suffering from missed opportunities, and I think one, having a person we're following would have really benefited this movie from beginning to end. I think following Frodo, was his name Casey in this, would have been, or any of them. Honestly, any of them, Josh Hartnett, like any of them, pick one, it's fine. But if we would have followed them through the journey of it, and you have these things naturally occurring, and they did kind of see things and figure it out, but it felt a little bit too Scooby-Doo in the sense that there was too many conveniences for them to be able to discover it.
This is why I mentioned the Breakfast Club. And it's because for some reason they clearly wanted a group of disparate kids who otherwise don't get along to trauma bond. And I don't know why they did that, other than this seemed to work in some other movies. Like, what would happen if we got Breakfast Club and The Thing and mushed them together? You know, as opposed to, like you said, just following one student.
I think even then I would have been more okay. And I know this is going off track, but I would have been more okay if their stories weren't so intertwined. If I got all their perspectives as the movie was going and then their worlds collided, where it was much more of an ensemble movie in that sense, where, you know, I got to see them follow and like their different stories. You got to see them as they were colliding with all these different, we'll call them parasites or whatever. And then that culminates, right?
You want a limited run TV series.
Well, don't say that. Don't.
Why not? That's what you're describing.
Well, but this goes back to, and maybe it might work a little bit better if it was more, because this was my problem as it was happening. I wanted it to be more along the lines of what The Thing did have, which is you not knowing who is or is not the alien, you know, and having that sense of, and I'll be honest, as I was watching this, the first half to maybe a little bit more than that wasn't really grabbing me. But I think once they all did get together and things started progressing, I was more engaged in the story in comparison. So perhaps like if the faculty, because obviously the name of the movie, you know, you didn't know who was or was not infected with this. And a lot of the stuff was a lot more subtle and happening as an undercurrent. And each one of the characters were finding the weirdness in what was going on, almost like Stepford Wives or something like that, right? Where it's like, this isn't right. Like, and they even acknowledge that people are acting different, right? But, and I think I even mentioned it as like, I don't know why all these actors are at 11 all the time when I really think an 8.5 would do. But everyone, you know, Robert Patrick, like all of them were just hamming every line up. And I was just like, Robert, you need to tell them to tone it down at least on one of the takes. Because I get the feeling like if you played it a little bit more subtly, it would build a little bit better. And like your soundtrack guy needs to calm down too. Like this isn't a 50s movie. Like I know they're inspired by 50s movies, but your music isn't doing the scenes justice the way that I think you want it to. And I do wonder if movies like Scream heavily influenced this movie. Because like I know from what I read that this was around before Scream as far as like as a screenplay. And it wasn't until Scream came out, you know, from Miramax or Dimension, that they're like, okay, well and they probably tweaked it to match that. So I'm like, I kind of
more Scream-like.
Yeah, and that happened to a lot of movies, right? Like you saw that in a lot of the 90s movies where they were screamified. And I mean, this movie probably succeeded in that sense because it was a $15 million movie and made like 60 or 70 million. So that's a respectable profit margin on it. So I guess it did what it really needed to, but I think it stopped it from, achieving a level of quality that something like The Thing did hit, right? Where there would have been more suspense, more, drama related around anything rather than doing what they ended up doing.
Well, speaking of The Thing, Bobby, let's talk about the creature itself and I guess its existence. We already had the question around how the heck did it get to Earth, but we'll leave that one alone. But is the idea of this like multi-splitting hydration-based water creature that gets tweaked out on caffeine and house supplies? How do you like the initial character design that they, that Casey picks up in the football field, to Jon Stewart learning about it, to us kind of getting, the bigger reveal as we go along of what Mother looks like?
Yeah, I thought that the red feelers that it had looked kind of neat. I thought that when it was just like a little kind of thing, it looked kind of neat, and it was kind of right for me to be like, don't do that kind of thing. Don't put your hands near it. Don't do what they're doing with it all the time. But I mean, one of the problems for me was that I didn't really see the link between the queen and the other creatures. And then when they did the close up on how the thing had teeth, like it just didn't work for me as well. I mean, I get that they're like little slugs and they're like little parasites and stuff, and those feelers they have are really gross, like obviously taken from real life, like leeches and various other like parasites that hook on to insects and stuff like that. But I frankly wasn't really feeling some of the creatures and the big one, especially the queen. Like I don't know, something about, I can't quite put my finger on it, but something I just quite didn't like about the queen.
Is it odd that when they showed, I think there was a couple close-up shots of the babies, or maybe it was when Zeke was working on it in his lab, all I could think about was like, do they have a gummy bear version of this little creature and I would eat it? No, is that too far? I wonder what flavor would you make the gummy creatures that they were working on? I like the places where there were practical effects around the creatures as best that they could. And then obviously the 1998 CGI just suffers from all the things we've learned about that make things good today, which is ambient occlusion is the big one, and just making things lighting match for what's actually happening in the room. I thought when they initially were staring at the fish tank in the classroom, where we were all surprised that the students really cared about this, since they're all jerks to each other outside of the classroom, that they seemed to like be looking at, their fake fish tank, and their eyes seemed to line up with where the creatures were. Matt, how'd you feel about the design? And maybe we could just talk about at the end of the day, that the mother itself, the fact that they clearly made a puppet, right? A gigantic puppet.
I feel like I saw behind the scenes where they did for the faculty. I think they only really used it for the reveal shot.
Was it actually a gigantic puppet, or was like a smaller one that they made look big?
That I don't remember.
When I think about the end scene, I guess we could talk about this now, since we all have built-in fears about this. Getting trapped behind the bleachers. That looked spot on. Did you think that was CG in front of Elijah? I thought that looked like a big old puppet.
No, by what I mean is, I don't know if it was big or small. Like, you know how like the Rancor in the Return of the Jedi was like a 3 foot tall, like kind of like hand puppet kind of situation that they just kind of like made look like it was bigger. To me, that's what I would do if I were making this movie. It just seems more cost effective to do, but maybe they made a gigantic thing. Anyway, they made it look realistic, like it was really, or maybe not realistic, but did make it look like it was really big.
But like you said, the design itself didn't get to you, Bobby. Matt, were you afraid of said creature, or was it just a squiggly snail?
Oh, no. I feel like, and this is where maybe Robert might have been a good director for it. I kind of wish that at least we'll start the smaller one. The smaller ones were a little bit more visceral whenever they leached onto you, especially with the tendrils. I wish you would see it thread through their skin. And like, you know, kind of like the scene in The Mummy, right? When the scarab goes into the one dude's body or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
If it was a little bit more visceral in that sense, where it, you know, it felt a little bit more horrendous, I think it would have made it, even though like it was a little tiny thing. And like, honestly, from a design point of view, wasn't really the most scary, but at least that aspect of it would have made it scary, you know? Kind of like piranha, right? Piranha are just fish, but the sharp teeth and the mass eating or whatever, that's what makes it terrifying, right?
Right.
The big one, honestly, I don't think they even really needed to do that, if you ask me. I think that...
Oh, it should just been a naked woman the whole time?
It technically she would have had to been, but because I don't... Because then I have more questions, because I'm just like, I get it, she's the queen, but was she that big from the get-go? Because I imagine she still infected somebody, right? Because if the argument is she grew, then, and she could transform, because then you see the coach, he kind of, I mean, the CG was terrible, but when he's in the rain, his face has the little teeth thing.
Oh, it became like translucent too as the lightning would flash.
Yeah. So I don't know. That part of it, I'm not really a big fan of. I guess at the end of the day, they wanted it to be a monster movie. You just didn't want to see Mary Beth chasing people. Like, but to me, that, I don't know, that's less interesting, but I guess that's just me.
I mean, I wish there would have been a better transition too. Like, you know, like kind of like in werewolf movies, they go from the person to the creature. Like, did I miss like?
You want a metamorphosis?
Yeah. Like, did I miss that? Like, where all of a sudden, like one shot it was her, and the next shot it was a giant creature, right? Like,
yeah, that's why they gave you a butterfly at the end. Made you think about it.
Right. See, but I would have liked to have seen like some kind of creepy looking transition.
Well, what about the payoff? Because you talked about the idea of the mother being the thing that needed to be destroyed to stop all the others, and somehow Jon Stewart is still alive when everything is said and done.
Yeah, honestly,
are you okay? Are you okay with the idea that this monster could be removed because of a diuretic?
No, I mean, I didn't understand why killing her killed everybody else. I mean, I understand there's like a queen, and so I think, okay, you know, bees have queens, and when the queen dies, all the bees get confused, and they end up needing another queen and trying to find something else. Or
I think, and this is where again they could have done a little bit more work to establish this, when they're doing the experiments with the mouse. If they would have had it split, and it turned out that if you killed the first one, the second one died. So it's like literally it's a down the line thing. So if you take out one of them, whatever was down the line would take it out, regardless if it's queen or not. Like it was somehow like part of the, like it was like a chain effect whenever that happened. I think I would have been more okay with that. Or if they would have fed more into the hive mind aspect, like literally killing the queen, because it's not, you'd be like, okay, well, they don't have their own individual personalities. They don't have their own individual things, which would have cut out some of the dialogue between them because they don't need to talk, right? They're like Borg, right?
Right. They
don't need to talk to each other because they aren't individuals. They are the same thing. So you don't need to talk to yourself. Well, I mean, I guess some people might, but you know, then I think it would have been more appropriate to say, well, if you kill the queen, she's the only one thinking. The rest of them don't think. They're literally just mindless drones. And if she's taken out, all of them are gone because they're not able to think for themselves anymore. They literally are just organic matter at that point. That would have been fine. And they hinted at that and they talked about that, but the actions of the people infected did not seem to indicate that at all. Because you could have played with it. You could have had it so that literally because they're a hive mind, you know, as people were trying to run or hide because they were seeing them, they all knew, right? They just didn't quite play into it, I think, the way that they could have in order to sell that better.
I thought that mouse scene was like unnecessarily creepy. Like, I didn't like how they, for some unknown reason, had a mouse in a cage, like some kind of lab rat. And then...
Wait, that was the part that a lady got shot in the head?
No, yes. I didn't like that either, but I didn't like I just thought the rat scene was weird.
I mean, it was his drug lab, and apparently he liked to get that mouse high.
Right. Is that the implication? He's got some
Yes.
like weird
Oh,
test
yes,
rat.
100%. 100%.
That's
That he named and decided to infect and kill with his bare hands because Zeke is that type of guy. Bobby, are you recommending The Faculty to people?
um
Wow, that is a pregnant pause, as they like to say. I like it when Bobby has a pregnant pause. There's a lot of churning going on.
No, I mean, there is churning going on. I mean, one thing I'm thinking about right now is I don't think that the bullies got their due enough. You know, like Usher, various others. I don't think they suffered enough. But I mean, I was entertained. There was parts that I enjoyed. I mean, maybe other movies like The Thing might be more worth your time watching. Or if you want like a high school angsty kind of situation, there's other kinds of things to watch. But I think that this movie has interesting moments in it that, I mean, maybe the 5-minute YouTube part of it.
Just watch a recap.
Yeah, just watch the recap. Listen to the
Bobby,
review
hitting
of
us with
it.
the just actually listen to this episode that you're listening to currently. Matt, are you recommending The Faculty?
No, I didn't dislike this movie. I can't say that I was bored during it. It didn't drag like a lot of other movies will drag that are terrible. I would probably still watch this over some other movies that, you know, we've seen on here. I think that it'd be way too easy to say, go watch The Thing or, you know, Mimic or, you know, probably I'm sure there's an episode of The X-Files with a similar premise. Like, actually, wasn't there? There was, right? They're in like a Soviet camp that was a ripoff of The Thing. So like, I feel like there's just so many better examples of body snatcher style movies. And just like Bobby said, there's a ton of other teen horror movies out there to watch that are potentially more entertaining. There's no way that any of these movies are ever probably going to beat Cabin in the Woods for me. I'm just going to go watch that instead. So
that's not fair. That's just not fair. I feel like if you're choosing to get together with your friends, maybe do a Dimension Films run. Mm-hmm. It's in the list. Yeah. So you'll watch it because of that.
It's there.
It's there, and it's in the list. I agree. There's a lot that we've watched that I think would be more challenging than this film, but also echoing both of your sentiments. What else? I got nothing else to add here. Go with your own decision on this one, people. We're of no help. It's a movie.
That being said, I would love to see a remake. I would love to see a modern version of this.
I was wondering if they would try something.
I'm game for it if they treat it with a little bit more aspect of, like we've talked about, suspense. And I think a modern Gen Z version of this might be interesting, where you don't know which adults to trust or not.
Well, you heard it here, folks. We want the kids making movies. So get out there, youth. Remake this film. Give us a new Faculty. Don't call it part 2. Like, remake, not add on and or new dreams of whatever it could be. As always, thank you for listening. And know that I'm saving my sick days until when I'm feeling better.